All right, it is the day we've all been waiting for, the day to finally draft our paper. So, you are going to be working with multiple tabs today. So, hopefully, you pause and open up all of the links that are listed right below this video in the lesson. One will be the blank document where you will actually draft your paper. And then you'll need the graphic organizer for your introduction, your body paragraphs, your counterclaim paragraph, and your conclusion. So you'll start by opening up your document. I would recommend going ahead and clicking log in on Grammarly. If you haven't already done that, you'll use the Google option and click your school account. And that's just going to make it easy for you to do some grammar check. And so you don't need to do any of this. You've signed in, you can just close that tab now. And so where it says first name and last name, anything with brackets means that you're deleting that and you're including your information. So this student would write Jane student as their first and last name, and then they would write in the date. And then here where it has the parentheses with the last name, you have to double click there. And then you are going to replace the parentheses with the last name with your last name. So if your last name was student, which none of yours is, but then you would put student, and then all you have to do is click out of there. And what it's going to do is put your name and the page number at the top of every page automatically. You only have to do it once. Then for the title of your paper, you could call it whatever you want. You could just simply leave it with your topic. Uniforms. And then you are going to start typing your paper here. So you're going to get rid of this completely. It's already formatted for you in the correct font and double spacing. But as we're copying and pasting, we're probably going to have to fix that at the end. That's no problem at all. So we're going to start with our introduction, and we're simply going to copy our sentences, and then we are going to paste them in order in our document. So we have our first block, we have our second block, and then we have our third block. And then you can see here, we have a nice paragraph, and we're going to make sure that our paragraph is indented by pressing the tab button. And then to move to a new paragraph, we hit enter, and it should automatically indent it. If not, then we hit tab again. And then we repeat that process. So now we're done with our introduction graphic organizer. I would just go ahead and close it. Then you're going to start with your body paragraph organizer, and you're going to start right here. Again, you're going to copy and paste each one in order. I'm going to pause the video now and actually complete this entire task, and I'll show you what it looks like. Okay, so I've copied and pasted my information for my first body paragraph. I want to point out a few things to you. One, it may undo your indentation at the beginning of the paragraph when you start copying and pasting. That's no big deal. You just press the tab button so that way the beginning of your introduction and the beginning of your first body paragraph is indented. Then the next thing that I want to point out to you is this box in yellow where you told which source this fact comes from. You still need to include, but what you do is at the end of the sentence, so this is my fact, and then at the end of the sentence, right before the period, I just add in a parentheses and say source one. Here you can see again, here's my fact, and then I have the parentheses and source one, and then my period comes after that. In our next couple of units in the research unit, we'll look at how to do more detailed citations. But for right now, I want you to just get in the practice of telling me where the facts come from using this kind of format, a parentheses with which number source it came from. And then when I've finished everything for that paragraph, I hit enter. It's going to indent, and then I just move on. I scroll down to my second body paragraph and repeat that same process. Okay, so I paused the video for just a moment and I went ahead and repeated that same process for the second body paragraph. I just copied all of my boxes in order. I put which source it came from at the end of this sentence. And so now I can close that graphic organizer and I bet you can guess what we are going to do. We're going to move on. Now keep in mind that this is a transition phrase. So this yellow and this red makes one complete sentence. This yellow and this green makes another complete sentence. Now you might see that this paragraph is quite a bit shorter than the previous two body paragraphs, and that's totally fine. Your counterclaim is not going to be as long because we're not going to spend as much time on the other side of the argument, right? We've addressed it, we've included a turn back, and now we are going to simply go to a new paragraph, close our counterclaim graphic organizer, and we are going to include our final three sentences of our conclusion. So the exact same process as before, copy those sentences in order. You may have to do a little like moving back and forth to make sure that you're still within that same paragraph so that when we finish, again, I've hit tab. So you should be able to count paragraphs really easily by looking at the indent. So the indent tells you this is paragraph 1, this is paragraph 2, paragraph 3, paragraph 4, and paragraph 5. Nobody should have more than 5 paragraphs. As you get into high school, you have more freedom with your structure, but for this essay, everybody should have the exact same 5 paragraphs. Now you might notice that like the text kind of change sizes. So what we are going to do is we are going to select, we're going to hold down our cursor and we're just going to select our entire paper and we're going to make sure that we are using Arial, that we are using font size 12. And then the last step is that it's double spaced. And so what you do is you click on this picture with the line, with the arrows pointing up and down, and it'll say line spacing, and we want to click double. Now, sometimes this looks a little weird for students the first time they look at it, but don't. That's exactly what it should look like. There's a gap in between. So we still have our indentation at the beginning of every paragraph. We've started a new line for the beginning of every paragraph. And you can see here, it'll wrap to the next page. It'll have your last name with the page number, and it will just continue on until the end of the paper. Do not click turn in here. But in Google Classroom, what I want you to do is make sure that before you turn it in, that you run an originality report. So you're going to only run one right now on your rough draft. And you'll run the originality report, and that will be a great way for you to check how good of a job you did either quoting your sources or paraphrasing your sources. So what we want is to look at any flagged passages. So this is going to be obviously a very general statement. Students should not be forced to wear uniforms for school, and it's a very small part of my writing. So I'm going to kind of ignore that. You can also turn on this button. It doesn't show that I have any cited or quoted passages because I rewrote everything in my own words. If I look at percent, it's 2%. It's just this one little portion. And then I'm in good shape. If you had larger sections that were flagged, then that tells you that you need to rewrite it. And so you would click on this edit button and it would take you back to your paper. Once you've done that, your paper looks awesome. You are simply going to copy your link, paste that link in the writer's box in Odysseyware, and I look forward to reading your papers.